the next day, after recovering from our overnight ordeal on the desert, Lynn and I hitchhiked down to Eilat and the Red Sea. This is the ocean. You can see it's the Gulf of Aqaba, goes down part of the Red Sea, goes up to Egypt, Cairo. Children of Israel came from Egypt, across these wasteland type areas, up to the Promised Land after their exodus from Egypt. So here we are, we're really in the midst of this incredible historic and spiritual area. So we get down to Eilat and we run into Polly and Alan again.
After what can only be described as a harrowing night in the desert, we make it back to the road, and this is from my journal. We have made it back to the road, and I literally kissed the highway when I arrived for the relative safety it provided. I've lived through another adventure, and perhaps the closest I have ever been to mortal danger, and I'm on the road again. Heavy night in the desert. After a hitchhike, Lynn and I make it to Eilat. From my journal, 6 March 1971. Got into Eilat early yesterday morning, and we found Polly and Alan. These are the folks from the kibbutz that we keep running into, kind of comical again. All 4 of us went out a ways down the beautiful, almost navy blue Gulf. That's the Gulf beyond us, the Gulf of Aqaba. What a place, what a swim in the soft water. We had food, but not enough to drink on the desert beach. Spent a groovy day. Then we lit a fire with all the wood we could find on the beach. We cooked beans, and I went walking in the soft night with moon glow askance. Yes, it was living the good life, traveling on the road like hobos. This craggy, sandy, desert, mountainous area that just came down to the blue sea was absolutely stunning. And we had incredible sunsets and sunrises that came up over the mountains on both sides. It was really kind of an engrossing place that kept you busy just keeping your eyes on the beauty. Eilat was like a scene. It was winter, and this was kind of like the Miami Beach of Israel. So folks who visited Israel from all over the world would also be attracted to the Eilat area. And it was kind of a combination of being hippie, cool, tourist, grungy, a place where you could work because it was in fact on the Red Sea. And there were places to hang out, like the Red Sea fish and other establishments that seemed to attract the hippies and others, the more touristy type. But it was really a place like a magnet, and the invisible post told you, oh, this was a place to go and check it out. The water was just incredible blue. And we went down and found ourselves a place along the sea where we could just go in when we wanted to. And you'd see incredible schools of fish. And I cut my foot on some coral, being the buffoon and not understanding the rigors of the sea and the rigors of the road, which included the sea in this case. And I got a significant cut on the instep of my foot. And now I'm hobbling around, I'm bleeding, I'm looking for bandages, but it's okay. And I'm still with Polly and Alan and Lynn. And we spent like 2 days on the same rocky beach. It wasn't exactly glorious, but we had a good time. Now it was time for Lynn and I to shake Alan and Polly. And we just said, listen, guys, we're going to go down. We'll see you later. Just gave them see you later kind of deal. And Lynn and I hit the road and hitchhiked down along the sea.
Of all the places I've ever been, and on this whole 1 year travel, the magic and the mysticism of the fjord will always be the best.
It's March 10, 1971, at the Fijord, in the Sinai Peninsula, which is still occupied at this point by Israel. We lay on a little sandy inlet in the fjord. The fjord is a lagoon-like inlet in the Red Sea. It's clear and blue and beautiful, about 50 miles south of Eilat. The Sinai had been Egypt's, but became part of Israel as a result of a war that just taken place a few years before. Swimming occasionally in the cool water, the sun roared as the wind had stopped. Soon an Israeli and a Bedouin who had been driving in the fjord came up and told us there was a cafe nearby. We left our belongings here at the fjord and walked, then got a ride a bit. By the way, it was somewhat risky to leave your belongings because who knows, you didn't want to carry your bag around, but on the other hand, it had all your stuff in it. Well, we found ourselves at a Bedouin hut just off the road where an old Bedouin with dark, weathered skin sat making coffee. The sun burnt down, real desert heat. We drank coffee and lemonade. And then all of a sudden, there's an English kid and a French kid at the shack. This is like a guard post of some sort, as in order to travel further down the road to Sharm el-Sheikh all the way at the southern end of the Sinai Peninsula, you had to have special clearance. The people at the outpost were fantastically hospitable and engaging. The French guy waited for a lift. Then they took Lynn off to a small shack away from the road. After about a half an hour, they came back out with a huge meal in a big bowl with 7 or 8 tablespoons for each of us to dig in. We ate heartily. After a while, the heat became too much, and the English guy drove Lynn and I back on his 650 BSA motorcycle to the fjord, hopefully for a swim to cool us down. He had to shuttle us, first taking Lynn, then coming back to get me and bringing me back to the fjord. Swim in the fjord was wonderful. It was a scintillating experience. We dove into the cool lagoon-like water. The old Bedouin was soon back, and he kept bugging us to come back to the Bedouin shack. Then an American from Boston came up with goggles, fins, and snorkel. I had met him in Jericho and again at Masada, so we were familiar with each other. He offered us the use of his equipment. So I went into the world of the salt water of the shallow floor of the fjord. The colors of the coral were incredible against the vivid blue of the water. I swam gently with the schools of transparent fish. What a world. I kept coming out of the water to find myself surprisingly clear across the fjord from where I started, hundreds of feet away, as I totally lost contact with the world above. Soon, everyone left our arena. This place is so lovely. As day turned to evening, Lynn and I ate in the bright, almost full moonlight. Some people built a fire across the fjord, but they too left, leaving Lynn and I alone in this incredible desert lagoon of ocean blue water, surrounded by brown and red cliffs and mountains. The air was so soft that we just lay and naturally evolved into a romantic evening. We lay and discussed the possibility of our existences. It became so bizarre, so psychological. But soon it became a romantic evening together in this wonderful environment. Then we grooved on the night some more and crawled into our Woombic sleeping bags. Just a surreal environment. Heavy days. After a magical few days at the Fijord down on the Red Sea, Lynn and I head back to Eilat, find ourselves in the community, and get engaged in an area called the Wadi, where we spend some days in a community of hippies, playing music, living in a shack that someone leaves us, and getting involved with some very interesting, wonderful people, and winding up hitchhiking with some of them on the way back to Beersheba and to Jerusalem, where an exciting spiritual adventure begins. I play in the water some more, and soon it is dark and the moon is aglow. Suddenly the Israeli army appears, jeeps, searching lights, and a procession of soldiers. We are told it is unsafe here and to head back in the other direction we came from. The four of us walk 5 or 6 kilometers in the moonlight until we spot a late-night cafe. After dinner and a few drinks, the four of us head down to the beach and sleep on the rocky shoreline. In the morning, we wake up and walk into the town of Eilat, where we locate the Red Sea Fish Cafe. We spend another day at the beach together. Alan and Polly are fun. Lisa and I have something going on. My head is filled with the conflicts of my lifetime as always, but right now my mind is soft and flowing. I am content with my life and its prospects. Now, if the world can only make it. Our little spot on the Red Sea is about 2.5 kilometers south of the actual town of Eilat. We buy some wine and spend another night together out on the beach. In the morning, Polly and Alan go into town. Lisa and I hitch a ride 17 kilometers down from Eilat to the Fijord, an inlet of bright blue water surrounded by barren, brown, rocky mountains. Lisa and I have a tremendous chemistry going. This place is so romantic. The water is calm, exuding 6 shades of blue, pure natural beauty. We lay in a little sandy inlet cove in the fjord. Just us, all alone. This is postcard perfect. Lisa pulls out some fruit, crackers, and wine from her backpack. We celebrate the night as the moon peeks in on us.